Okay, so that is set up, and I think the streaming software is live. Yes, it is. Alright, so we're almost set up. Uh, just gotta get a few more little things here. That's great. Just gotta look at my channel, see how things are doing. Okay, so let's make this thing live. Almost ready, almost ready. Okay, so that is ready now. Just gotta get the thumbnail. Just a little bit of a petty little thing to do. I think you guys are being a little bit quiet though. I'd like you guys to take turns when I get you to your car. Okay, so that's good. I just gotta get setting up the little announcement to everyone else. Nico, if you could do that also for SLC, that would be appreciated.
What?
Good then. If you could do that also, Vokies. So, let's start off with Vokies. Vokies, if you could unmute yourself, that would be appreciated. Oh, you can't talk? Okay. Well, I guess I'll do it for you. Not an issue at all. So Vokies here is running one of the smallest classes at Track Loans this weekend. This is the quarter midget class specifically. Quarter midgets will be running, I believe, is it a 20 lap main race? 25 lap main race, as I thought. Similarly to the Outlaw Karts, though it's a non-vision lag series featuring slightly slower vehicles called quarter midgets. I don't know how much horsepower they run. They're pretty much fast little go-karts, and they're a fun thing to race. It's currently the Hyper Chassis, but yeah. They'll be racing at 4 p.m. on this Saturday. As we look up to the next class, it's one of the Outlaw Karts. There's actually a non-wing version of this as well. This specific one is Lucas Sipka's Outlaw Kart. He's looking for the championship, currently the leader of the championship in this car. These run, I believe, somewhere around 100 horsepower. And they're a very fun little thing to drive. Up next is actually the first class that is racing. Oh, but by the way, though, this is the season finale for these. So be sure to show up. It will be a great event. But anyways, going back to where we were. First event of the night will be the Street Stocks. Street Stocks are the slowest class on the Asphalt division, ran separately from SLCORA in a class called Street Stocks. They're by APK Ramsey. One links is in the description. I believe that they're the All-American Racing Series. As you see, the first SLCORA car of the night, which will be ran about an hour after the Street Stocks run. This is the 4-cylinder powered Asphalt midget designed by A Games. This is possibly one of the more interesting classes. It's definitely a one-off event. that will be one you will not want to miss. Up next, we have Speedy XR1's late model. This was actually completely done by Narwhaler05. I would bring Narwhaler over here. Maybe he could explain it a little bit better. Maybe I'll actually get him after this. But that's going to be running at the end of the night with a 100 lap feature. After that, we have the RRH mod featuring a 550 horsepower V8 and possibly some of the most interesting form of short track racing in terms of modifieds, because they not only run short tracks, but they also run full-size ovals as well as road courses. The ROX Mods season is starting to close in to the later half of the season, and the championship is still tight between the top 4 drivers. Either one of them could win. Twin Turbo V6 also was the guy to win the last race, and due to a little rule switch, he will actually be starting on pole position. And up next, we have the SLC car. Nico, if you could explain the SLC GT3, please.
Okay, so what we have here is the SCG 003S, which is one of our more predominant GT3 cars. These cars run on about 500 horsepower, 550 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, obviously. What can you really say? They make about the areas around 2,000, 2,200-ish pounds of downforce. And, mainly a class type of thing. Any railroad car can be, used as long as they, fit within the regulations. So a fun little fact about these cars is that they must actually be road legal for them to be able to participate in, categories. We have, um, I'd say I guess 0 to 60s would happen about 3 second, 2.9 around there, or and weigh about 2,700 pounds around that ish. These things don't seem to be don't really have much horsepower in say the road car wise but these things can run around 7 seconds quicker than a new McLaren Senna around Silverstone.
Is there anything you'd like to say about the series itself?
The series makes for good racing. Usually these things are not 100% equal, obviously, because of all the different aero packages and, wheel lengths and bases and powertrains and stuff like those. But they all run about 6 speeds, sequentials. They're very even racing. You'll mainly find about 2/10, maybe a tenth between the cars. Um, and you always get good battles with these when you get a good showing.
What time will the race be?
I For the GT3s, you did the time zone, so they're gonna have to answer
Yep.
that one.
Okay, well, SLC runs 45-minute races. They'll be racing at 12 p.m. on both days, this being PST. There will be a time change on Sunday, which might stir things a little bit up, but they might be ran at the US time zone, I'm not sure. Probably might have to due to the outlaw cards, I'm not sure. And up next is RRH WAC. I actually try my best to get them over here. I can't understand though. I mean, I think most of them would be at school at this very time. Vokies, if you would mind not driving, please. In a nutshell, this is their Porsche, I believe, Porsche GT AM car, given by the green colored. Actually, no, wait, it's the other way around, I think.
It's
Uh,
the Pro.
yeah, GT Pro car. They will be running what will be called a sprint race. Vokies, stop. Get off it. They will be running about a 45-minute race. It will be done by laps, if I recall correctly. Or maybe not. Actually, no, it was by time. No, actually, I need to correct myself. That was a 1 hour race that they were going to be doing. And I believe that will be a very entertaining event, given that there is going to be multi-class racing, which this will be, I'm pretty sure, the only race in history with multi-class racing. Up next is the WTRC 4GT. WTRC, again, another really cool series. They'll be running a 45-minute sprint race as well on track loans. It'll be running at the nighttime for those Asians. This 4GT specifically, I believe, is the GTE edition. And it will be, I believe it's also one of the more heavily scripted cars in the field. So there will probably be some interesting stuff the driver's going to be doing. So if you want to watch some cool technical stuff going on, that's the series to roll to. And finally, the Grand Crown of Racing. We'll have Nico explaining this one. But at 10 a.m. on Saturday, there will be a hell of a class that'll be showing up. If you would like to
Right,
present.
so these are our Group C cars that we're gonna be running. Very new class, not first time that we're actually gonna be running these cars. This is the Mazda 787B, probably one of the most famous cars that everyone knows. Runs a four-rotor array and runs about 700 horsepower, limited. From releasing the limiters, this thing can run about 900 rear-wheel drive. Traction control and ABS were not a thing back in the 80s, early 90s. So these things are as raw as you basically can get. Uh, Most of our Group C cars right now we're going to be running is around the 700 to 850-ish horsepower range.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Varying from the early 80s to the mid 90s. Um, one of our this one here won the 91 class. Sorry, 90 one back in 91 at Le Mans in not in the way that a lot of people think. A lot of people think this car was really quite a quick car, but you'd be surprised. Yes, don't get me wrong, this thing can do 0 to 60 in 2.8 and have a top speed of 220 miles an hour. But the actual thing that a lot of this is not really known for rotaries, the thing that actually got this thing to win back in 91 was its reliability. So a lot of the things with these cars is that they weren't exactly even in a sense. A lot of these with Group C, it was kind of in a sense like F1 is nowadays. It is really kind of the people who had the most cash had the fastest cars. Now you're gonna have different ranges of cars between cars low downforce, high downforce trims, running all different types of horsepowers. 220 miles an hour is no small feat, but was actually probably one of the slower ends of the top speed range in the Group C era. From, if we talk about say like the Porsche 962, see, the long tail, or the Mercedes Sauber C11, those things run between the 240, 250 mile an hour range. Um, but the engine diversity with these cars was nothing like I've ever seen before. You had 7-liter V12s to like 3.5 liters V12s. You had V6s, V8s, twin turbos, single turbos, naturally aspirated. This one was one of the few cars that ran rotaries. You had all different ranges of engines that could be put into these cars, and they used to run for 24 hours, 8 hours plus. So these things you could be running up to flat out at like 9,000, 12,000 RPM for 24 hours, almost 24 hours straight, and these things would be built to deal with all of it. So it's really one of the most, I guess, purest racing forms of just a car that was made to go ridiculously quick with, you know, I guess not really that much uh, electrical things, like how you nowadays you have traction control, ABS, you have KRS, ERS, all these things in these new cars that were meant to make the racing better and stuff like that. But these things never really had any of those. It was just you bolt an engine to the back of a car and you race them. So these cars, we're probably not going to see. that close of racing, when there's these cars, the thing, it's really just a show to show them off on their true glory of what it used to be like with these cars. Um, but it's going to be a good show for everybody to come down and see the old Group C cars out and about again.
Would you like to talk about the field?
So far right now, if we have this Mazda right here, it's going to be run by a fellow named Event. We're also going to be having the Sauber C9 coming down to come to the event. It's going to be running about, I'd say, 800-ish horsepower. Top speed comes around 240 range. A big, massive V8 slapped to the rear of it, and just, obviously all of these things were rear-wheel drive. We're going to have a Porsche 962 C Longtail. We're going to have a Porsche normal 962, not the C version. This version had just a normal bolted wing at the rear. If I remember correctly, we're going to have some GTP cars come to the show as well. The Chevy Intrepid and the Toyota Eagle Mark III, a very famous car, the Eagle. Still holds one of the records around Daytona to this day, actually, beating DPI cars, um, which is not a small feat to do. I'm personally going to be running the Peugeot 905. Good V10 slap to the rest, sounds very nice. And we have a Aston Martin AMR1 coming to the show as well.
Ran by the ROX Mod leader, in terms of points, that would be T7 Jake. I believe that's running that one, right?
Yep. Jake will be running the Aston Martin.
Would you like to talk
Oh, and
about?
we actually
Yes, sir.
have a lot of these Gran Turismo fans will know this one. The Toyota Minolta. We might have two coming. We don't know yet. We know for a fact one will be coming. We might have a second one come. We'll have to see on that one.
Heard that Dakar might be showing up, and I was wondering how that one would go over.
Yes, Dak will be coming in the Chevy. We'll have a guy named Jack. He will be racing in the Nissan R91 CP, and one of our fastest drivers as well with Twin, which he will be running a Sauber C9.
Yeah, if I was running, if there wasn't enough drivers, then I think I was
Yes,
running the Nissan
you
MP35.
yes, correct. You'll be running the MP35. Had a V12 rev to about some crazy number of like 12,500
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah.
Honest, looking up, it actually only raced in one race that at least with the info that I've looked up, with the help of a couple others, could find that it raced back in, I think the 5,000 kilometer or 500 kilometer of mine, and it didn't do too well, and it did only race for one race. However, this thing made a bitch load of downforce, but in the cost of that, it didn't really have that much top speed range. So the only information that I could really find is that this thing really only went up to 187 miles an hour, which is probably the lowest you'll ever see on a Group C car. But this thing would basically turn and stop on a dime.
Hmm.
Um,
Maybe that might be a good
with
thing to
its
track loans.
Huh? Yeah, go on track loans, it's a high speed, but not that high speed track. You can keep a lot of speed into and out of the turns, but it's relatively kind of a tight track. So really you want to try to find that balance between high downforce and good mid-range acceleration. So, cars that could really excel with our list right now would be, the Peugeot that I'm driving and the 962 that will be coming up, having a good amount of rear downforce, front downforce, and decent mid-range to shoot off out of the corners.
Anything else you'd like to say about this event? Track loans or anything else? Or I think we should vibe.
Oh, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up here.
Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, you heard that? These are all the classes racing. Of course, some of them have already been scattered throughout the field because I kind of screwed a little bit of stuff up. It's no biggie at all, though, because we're going to have a really big event coming up. These are all going to be raced throughout the weekend. I believe there's going to be about 150 plus vehicles, which is insane by my standards. Yes, you are the previous car champion, but I don't know where the hell you're going to be racing this weekend. So cool. Also, I think I don't know, I think we're gonna just have a really cool weekend. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up. Everyone else for watching this video. I think you guys are cool. So I'd like to say thank you